Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond the Box Score and I am your host Hayat. Today is March 13th, and in this video we're breaking down 4 NBA matchups that I've been digging into. Toronto Raptors vs Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors vs Minnesota Timberwolves, Los Angeles Clippers vs Chicago Bulls, and Memphis Grizzlies vs Detroit Pistons. Just like always, I'm going to walk through these the same way I do on camera, thinking out loud, connecting the dots, looking at the form, the injuries, the momentum swings, and the little situational spots that sometimes decide these games before the ball even tips. And real quick before we dive in, the channel is getting close to a big milestone. The goal right now is 2,000 subscribers, so if you enjoy these deep dive breakdowns and want to see more full slates like this, hitting subscribe really helps push the channel toward that target. Alright, enough setup, let's start connecting the dots. Raptors vs Phoenix Suns. Okay, the lean here is Phoenix Suns plus the points. Let me walk through why. Alright, so we're talking Toronto Raptors vs Phoenix Suns, and the first thing I see is Toronto comes in at 36-29 overall, 32-33 against the number, and yeah, their last game was a loss to New Orleans Pelicans, 122-111. That road trip sweep really stings, especially on the back-to-back context, and it's not like Toronto has historically been at their best on no rest. I mean, they dropped from the 5 spot and now they're in the play-in tournament zone, not exactly where a team that had top 4 aspirations wants to be. You add in the fact that the Raptors beat bad teams but struggle against good teams, and right now Phoenix is starting to get healthy, even with Dillon Brooks out and Grayson Allen only out for the first half of the back-to-back. You're talking about a team that still has Jordan Goodwin and Haywood Highsmith available. So the talent's there, the depth is there, and even on a back-to-back, I still see them managing to play well. Now, Toronto's side, you've got Scotty Barnes listed as questionable, Colin Murray-Boyle's also questionable, and yeah, if either of them sits or is limited, that law firm of Ingram, Quickly, Barrett, Barnes starts to lose some teeth. The split has been really apparent this season. When they're full strength, they can compete, but when someone's off, even slightly, it shows, especially against a team like Phoenix that's considered very good despite back-to-back fatigue. One path I see here is Toronto coming out trying to impose their pace, but Phoenix has enough depth to absorb that, control the tempo, and still stay in it, and if Dillon Brooks eventually comes back in later rotations, that's just a lift on top of the current situation. What connects for me is the Raptors' 32-33 record against the number and their poor showing on no rest, and then you layer Phoenix's quality, the healthy rotation with Goodwin and Highsmith, the back-to-back experience, and it paints a clear picture of a Suns team that can cover the points. I mean, you look at the scenario where Toronto plays full effort but still struggles with execution, the Suns can hang, keep it close, maybe even pull ahead late, and the points just make sense in that scenario. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Phoenix Suns plus the points. Next game we have Warriors vs Minnesota. Okay, the lean here is Golden State Warriors to win. Let me walk through why. Alright, Golden State Warriors vs Minnesota Timberwolves. This one's layered because you look at the Warriors 32-33 overall, 2-8-3-6-1 against the number, and yeah, they just lost 130-124 to Chicago Bulls at home. That's their 3rd straight defeat and 5th loss in the last 6 games. So you're thinking, okay, that's a team that's been struggling but still has some upside. Minnesota comes in 40-26 overall, 27-39 against the number, and they just got blown out 153-128 by the Los Angeles Clippers on the second half of a back-to-back in LA. And when you look at that Clippers game, Kawhi Leonard went off 15 of 20 from the field, 6 threes, 45 points, Benedict Martin 22 points, Darius Garland 21 points, and for Minnesota, Anthony Edwards still put up 36 points on 11 of 17 shooting, but defensively, they allowed 63% from the field, 51% from 3, and the Clippers hit 83% on 36 free throw attempts. That's a complete breakdown, and it screams defensive effort needing improvement, right? You layer in Golden State's potential lift, Steph Curry within a 10-day timeline of returning from injury. They don't want to rush him, but even without him, there's a path here because Minnesota has this house of disappointment label, where just when you think they'll bounce back or stabilize, they fall flat. One path I see here is Golden State grinding through, exploiting Minnesota's defensive holes, and leaning on experience and role players to maintain control, and if Curry comes back soon, it just amplifies that leverage. The West is highly competitive, and the Warriors need wins to secure positioning, especially to sneak ahead of the Clippers for that 7-8 matchup, so the urgency is there. What connects for me is Minnesota's inconsistency, the defensive lapses against teams like the Clippers. Golden State's need to stabilize their season and reassert themselves before Curry fully returns, and the scenario where Minnesota relies on Edwards but can't contain shooters and free throw opportunities, that's a perfect storm for Golden State. You imagine the Wolves pushing early, the Warriors staying calm, picking their spots, and taking advantage of turnovers, open looks, and Minnesota missing defensive rotations, and it just adds up. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Golden State Warriors to win. Quick pause for a second. If you've got an even one lean you like so far from these games, maybe it was the Raptors versus Suns, maybe the Warriors versus Timberwolves, maybe something in Clippers versus Bulls or Pistons versus Grizzlies, go ahead and hit the like button. That tells me these full slate breakdowns are actually helpful and worth doing more often. And if you want to help the channel reach the 2K subscriber goal, hit like and subscribe. It takes a second for you, but it honestly means the world to the channel and helps these videos reach more basketball fans who enjoy this kind of analysis. Alright, let's jump back into the next matchup. Next game between Clippers versus Bulls, and okay, the lean here is Clippers in this one at home. Let me walk through why. Alright, so we're looking at Los Angeles Clippers versus Chicago Bulls, and the first thing that jumps out is the Clippers are 33-32 overall, 36-29 against the number. And coming off that 153-128 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, which marked their third straight win, 6 of 7, right, so this team is rolling right now. Kawhi Leonard went off 15 of 20 from the field, 6 threes, 45 points in that Timberwolves game. Benedict Madden added 22 points, and Darius Garland looked really solid as well. Even though exact stats aren't provided, you can tell the team is clicking in multiple areas. Meanwhile, Chicago Bulls are 27-38 on the year, 2-9-3-5-1 against the number, and they just beat Golden State 130-124, but the pattern here is alternating wins and losses in each of the last 6 games, so inconsistency is glaring. Josh Giddey has been putting up triple-doubles recently, the heartbeat of this team, but he's essentially a one-man gang scenario, and if he doesn't have help, the Bulls are in a rough spot. Injuries and banged up players all season have contributed to their 27-38 record, whereas Clippers, even without James Harden who's no longer on the team, have managed to find a rhythm and get consistent performances. One path I see here is the Clippers taking this at home, riding momentum, Kawhi continuing his dominance, Benedict Madden staying aggressive, Garland distributing effectively. And the Bulls trying to keep pace but faltering when Josh Giddey can't do it all. Clippers have the potential to hold on to the 8 seed and make a run for the 7-8 matchup. Even if they face the Suns in that 7-8 matchup, they could jump to 7 with a win. What connects for me is the Clippers' streak, the Bulls' inconsistency, the one-man gang dynamic with Giddey, and the scenario where Clippers exploit gaps in Chicago's defense while staying disciplined and taking advantage of home court. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Clippers in this one at home. Last game of this video, Pistons versus Grizzlies. Okay, the lean here is Pistons in this one. Let me walk through why. Alright, so Memphis Grizzlies versus Detroit Pistons, both teams on back-to-back, Detroit coming off a game against the Philadelphia 76ers, benefiting from Joel Embiid being out. Tyrese Maxey is out for a little bit as well, and BJ Edgecombe is available, so there's some chaos but also opportunity there for Detroit. Memphis Grizzlies took on the Dallas Mavericks in their last game, and while the score isn't provided, the broader context is that this is essentially one of those NBA toilet bowl matchups, neither team with much to play for in the playoff sense, mostly draft positioning. Detroit is the far better team, no question, but the caveat is that this Pistons team hasn't been automatic with covering numbers this season. They lost 4 in a row before beating Brooklyn and then Philadelphia 76ers. Looking at past spreads, they were laying double digits against OKC and won by 8, laying 8 against Cleveland and won by 3, laying 13.5 versus Brooklyn Nets and lost before getting revenge later, so you can see a pattern of them taking advantage of spots but not always cleanly. Memphis, on the other hand, struggles when they have to step up in class, and while they might compete against same-level opposition, against a team like Detroit that's still fighting to hold off Boston for the 1 seed, only 3.5 games up, and trying to solidify their positioning, the Grizzlies are likely to fall short. One path I see here is Detroit executing in phases, taking advantage of Memphis' inconsistency, not overlooking the draft positioning motivation for Memphis but still asserting themselves, and cleaning up early mistakes, especially given the Pistons' urgency to stay ahead in the East. What connects for me is Detroit's advantage in talent and opportunity, Memphis' inability to rise to higher-level competition, the back-to-back scenario where Detroit can absorb fatigue better, and the scenario where Memphis tries to keep it close but can't match Detroit's firepower or game management. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Pistons in this one. Alright, that wraps it up for our 4 matchups on March 13th. As always, this was analysis and opinion only, nothing guaranteed, just me working through how these games could realistically play out if the situations and matchups unfold the way they look on paper. Now I'm curious how you're seeing these spots, so drop a Z in the comments and tell me which of the 4 games stood out to you the most, or if there's a matchup where you're seeing something completely different. I read the comments every day and a lot of the best discussion on this channel happens down there. And if you enjoyed this style, the raw breakdowns, thinking through the slate together, connecting all the little angles, make sure you like the video and subscribe because we're pushing toward that 2K subscriber milestone and every single one of you helps get us closer to that goal. More breakdowns like this coming soon, same raw format, same deep dives, same beyond the box score analysis.